Broncos country, Broncos country. I think that we're all in agreement. There's big expectations for what this team can do, where they can go based on what they did last year and the pieces they put together. But where are the worries? Where are the concerns? What is creeping up in your mind? That's what we're going to get to. Want to get your thoughts, your ideas, your comments. It's all coming up on this episode. Oh, well, right about now. Broncos country, welcome to the Denver Bronco Roundup podcast, man. It's a Friday night. We're hanging out. We're talking some Denver Broncos football. I've got the best, audience around. I call them the posse. That's what we call them here over at the Denver Bronco Roundup. My name is Keith Brugman. Can't wait to get on tonight's topic. Tonight is all about, hey, we have high expectations. Let's face it. And welcome in, Pearl, saying hello, by the way. Good to see you, Pearl. Congratulations to Sassy out there getting awards. If you don't know, Pearl's out there doing dog shows with her dogs as well. And when it comes to big, big shows, well, Sassy shows up, taking home 2 ribbons, I believe, 2 first-place ribbons. Congratulations, Pearl. Good to have you along for the ride. Mr. Ernie Mays coming in and saying, go Broncos country only. We are going to be 13-4-0. Bo Nix's team. It's looking like it's Bo Nix's team. There's no reason it shouldn't be Bo Nix's team, but that does bring in the question, again, 13-4-0, but what are your biggest concerns, Ernie? What are your biggest concerns about this Denver Bronco team, man? We've put together a team with Sean Payton leading the helm. Let's face it. I mean, we don't even hardly hear about George Payton anymore. Sean Payton is making the decisions, putting this roster together. He's went out and selected his quarterback. And a lot of people said Bo Nix isn't that great. And then he goes out there and he shows last year just how great Bo Nix is and what he can do. He's got great pieces around him. Last year, great pieces around him. Defense, one of the top. Offensive line, one of the top. Where's our issues? We don't have a tight end. We don't have a running game. Go out, get tight end. Go out, get running game. Everything is aligning for the Denver Broncos to be significant in this upcoming season. Everything is aligning for the Denver Broncos to possibly take the AFC West. If not, why can't they build off of what they did last year in just getting into the playoffs with everything they put together? Let's not forget the draft picks. And I guess I mentioned it in part because of RJ Harvey obviously being part of that run game that's going to be significantly better. But Jahdae Barron, Pat Bryant, Jeremy Crawshaw, Savion Jones, Hugh Robinson, Caleb Lohner, all these pieces that Sean Payton, George Payton have put together that should be significant and should make this team, quote unquote, better than they were last year. But I want to get into what your thoughts, what your concerns are, if there are any, of what could possibly, derail this team from our expectations, from the expectations, I think, of many. Maybe there's some haters out there. There's always going to be some haters out there. We've come to get used to that. Right now, I'm running solo. Again, my name's Keith Brugman. I expect to have Trevor, the Rocket Man Salzman, around shortly. In the meantime, I'll hit a few more comments. And I apologize if I can't keep up with all the stars. I'll try to catch up if I'm missing anybody out there. But Captain came in next. He says, "Evening posse has a leader." I'm not. Oh, every posse has a leader. I'm sorry. It's a good thing that spectacles are new. Oh my goodness. Every posse has a leader. You know, I don't know if is a leader of this posse. I just know I got a good posse behind me. That's all you need. Just a good posse behind you. And man, you feel like you can tackle the world. And that's how I feel every time I take the mic with you guys out there, just egging me on and bringing me along and supporting us the way you do. Like Phil McLaughlin is always in supporting us. I'd be shocked if this isn't with some stars, but even if it isn't, good friend of the show. Good evening, Keith. Gonna be a wild season. Yeah, it could be really wild. Ernie May saying, "I don't have any concerns. We will dominate the NFL." Well, I love the confidence, man. And honestly, there's a little bit, if you talk to these former players, which we've had the experience of doing, and you've all been along for some of that ride, or at least some of you have been along for some of that ride, whether it's Virgil Green or whether it's Howard Griffith, whether it be Glenn Cadrez that have graced our show. Man, we appreciate them. But they come on, and one of the things that they need to have is a mentality like Ernie Mays is talking about. I have zero concerns. We're going to go out there and we're going to dominate. I'll be honest, it's the way that they all feel. Hey there, Keith, says Roy Osborne. I might be going to the MHH meet and greet on October 19th versus the Giants, man. That's fantastic. MHH guys, we love them. I was just actually looking through my feed and just stumbled across some well wishes from Luke Patterson, who I appreciate so much. Thomas Hall over there and Chad Jensen, all of them, everybody that's over there at MHH. They've always been great supporters of us. Maybe as we continue to grow, and believe me, Posse, you've been amazing in helping us. By the way, like, share, and subscribe. Make sure that all your Broncos friends and family members are maybe liking our pages and subscribing to our pages, even if they can't show up every single episode. We would sure appreciate it. Remind them we're out on Apple Podcasts and Spotify as well. So, man, go out there, have a great time, and maybe in the future we can be there as well, man. Do a little meet and greet DBR style. Love to have that. Exciting day 2, best of breed over 16 really good corgis, says Pearl, and that's why Sassy came in on that amazing show that they just put out. So congratulations to Corgi Sassy. Let's see what else we got. I think everyone would agree health is our biggest concern. Well, let's dive into that, man. I want to hit that, man. There are obviously health concerns that we could bring up all the way across the board. There's health concerns that we've maybe had on our roster, aka an Alex Singleton, or maybe a Riley Moss that's out there, coming back from an injury, working their way back into the shape that we would like to see them, when they were performing their absolute best. Riley Moss at his best was a shutdown corner opposite of Patrick Surtain. Defensive Player of the Year, Patrick Surtain. If you can get Riley Moss back to where he was at and have zero concern, that's pretty dang good. Alex Singleton, leading tackler on this team, I know for 2 years, for sure. I'm not going to sit here and look up stats and try to figure it all out, but I know 2 years for sure, leading tackler on this team was the answer when we kept asking for someone who could maybe go sideline to sideline. We were all excited about Alex Singleton. Alex Singleton goes down. Hopefully, if Alex Singleton comes back to the same level that he was, leading tackler, sideline to sideline type of guy, no issues, those concerns can maybe be put to the side. I'm going to make sure that we're not missing any other comments. But let's hit some. Thank you, Phil. Sent more stars. Love and appreciate it, man. Off season, not talking about that amazing game that just happened. That's going to be in the very near future. But thank you for the stars. Appreciate it very much, Phil. Getting back to some of those health concerns, though, let's face it. It's not like our free agents are coming in without any issue whatsoever, right? Dre Greenlaw. I'll be honest, I was devastated watching that game, seeing Dre Greenlaw going down on the sidelines as a 49er, just seeing that tear just happen instantly. Bam. Warner just like, no, man, no, it can't be real. Can't be real. That doesn't happen. Right? Dre Greenlaw, just an absolute leader. Coming back from that injury, needs to be healthy. Health concerns, right? Talanoa Hufanga. Health concerns at the safety position. A guy that we went out and got. Evan Ingram, the Joker, out there taking care of business at the tight end position. Yeah, that's going to be a concern moving forward. If you're wondering where Trevor's at, he's wondering where I'm at because I forgot to send him the link, so I'm doing it right now. That's what happens when you're running crazy, thinking about everything that could possibly go right and everything that could possibly go wrong for the Denver Broncos. I'm going to make sure I get Trevor all taken care of. I'm going to check the comments here, see how we're doing, see what your concerns are. If you had to have a concern, right? If you had a concern about this Denver Broncos health situation, where's your biggest concern? I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to try to start thinking about that as I get again Trevor all dialed up. Can't believe he's going to be so upset. He's going to be so upset when he gets on here and he realizes I've been on here talking, leaving him without a voice, me just talking my own nonsense, and he gets no say. Can't wait. I guess it kind of serves him right. If you all know, Trevor's typically the one that's last to the show. Captain is coming in. He has no worries. Zero worries. This is going to be I'm glad you're not my co-host on the show, Captain. You and Ernie Mays, we'd have no episode to speak of because I think there's plenty of concerns that I could maybe possibly bring up. But I do want to get your ideas and your thoughts on, again, biggest concern about the health of this team, man. Where is your biggest concern? Is it an Evan Ingram? Is it a Dre Greenlaw? Who is it? Who is it for you? Give me your thoughts. I'm going to get Trevor here in just a second. My good friend. And I was just thinking about you, man, because I have not made it down to Bozeman and been able to give the award, the prize for being, part of our draft show, being a part of, what we do every single season and try to do some giveaways during those draft shows. And Jeremy, who lives just down the street, 2 hours away, and I need to get down to Bozeman, won the DBR hat, and I need to get him one. I'm showing the back of the hat. Mr. Trevor Salzman's showing the front of the hat. And I've kept him locked out long enough. Trevor, I set up everything. I got to share it out to every platform. I made sure then our ticker was perfect, talking about what's on topic. But I didn't send an invite out to make sure that you could join the podcast. Welcome in, sir. How you doing? It's a Friday night, and I could use a sip and a little break from talking. It's been almost 20 minutes of me blabbering straight forward. So, welcome in. How you doing? And by the way, kind of the topic we're on, biggest concerns, and Phil McLaughlin, who came in, he did say that he'd end up dropping some stars and helping us out that way as well. But his biggest concern was the health concerns that this Denver Bronco team could have. And I just challenged everybody out there. What is your biggest health concern? So you can dwell on that as you welcome yourself in and say good evening to everybody.
Yeah, it's great to be here, first and foremost. I'm glad I can join 15 minutes into a podcast. I thought Keith was going to go solo on me tonight. So, nevertheless, I end up being here one way or another. So excited to be here and proud to be here. Hopefully you guys didn't miss me too much. But as far as health-wise, I think Phil's right on there with everything. I think all these Broncos signings this offseason have been, those players have had some sort of injury history. And I think if you're the Broncos, it's low risk, high upside kind of contracts. I mean, you look at the J.K. Dobbins. We'll just go back to recent contract they just gave out. J.K. Dobbins, a lot of that money that they gave him, not a lot of it's guaranteed, and it's a 1-year deal for a guy that probably going to replace Javonte Williams. And it's not like you're spending 5 years. We're talking about 5 years, $100 million on a guy. Most of these guys' contracts that they signed, even Evan Ingram, even Dre Greenlaw, Hufanga, a lot of these guys' contracts are actually pretty team friendly for the most part. So if you think about from the Broncos standpoint, it's a low cost, high reward kind of deals that the Broncos made this offseason. That's what my wording of the Broncos offseason. Low cost, high reward. We'll see if it pans out for them. I don't think all of them are going to pan out, but I think that you're going to see you're hoping at least half of them pan out. Realistically,
half of our signings pan out. Boy, Dre Greenlaw, Talanoa Hufanga, Evan Ingram, J.K. Dobbins, 2 out of 4.
Well, from an injury standpoint, that's what I mean, not performance. From an injury, because those guys have. I think it's for me at least, it's a little unrealistic to think all of them are going to stay healthy. Like you're going to battle wounds at some point in time during the regular season, and it's just how they can get past that. And I mean, even if you can get half of them or even 3/4 of them the way through and those guys are healthy, I think it's a success for the Broncos. I just think it's a little unrealistic to think, okay, these guys aren't going to get hurt. And the Broncos training staff, as great as they are going to be able to keep all of these guys healthy all season long.
I understand from that. I'm on board. I understand what you're talking about. No, we're not talking about overall performance or who they are as a player or character concerns or culture or anything like that. You're just talking about injury. But if I say that only 2 of the 4 guys make it through 17 games, and let's say on average the other 2 are even out as 11 games, that's a scary proposition. And 11 games is 3/4 of the season. That's feeling pretty good about how far you were able to get with 2 out of 4, if that's the percentages that you're putting forward. That's I hate to say it, Trevor, that's a big concern, because at the right or wrong positions, you're in a world of hurt. And Evan Ingram going down hurts this team, I think, more than just about any other position. Can't have Evan Ingram be on the bad side of 2 out of 4. Is there, I know this is like, you know what, maybe we shouldn't even do it, but is there any biggest concern you have when it comes to injuries across this roster that we've either already had with like an Alex Singleton or a Riley Moss, or the incoming that we just end up talking about as well? Those are the kind of the 6 that I guess that are top of mind. I don't know if I'm missing any others, but from an injury standpoint, or is there one that concerns you not from the fact that I just brought up, like the Evan Ingram, if he goes down, what's your backup, but just from are they back? Can they be healthy? Will they be ready to go? Are they able to participate in training camp fully? Does that equal, hitting the field day one, taking all the snaps, or are they on a snap count? Where's your biggest concern across this roster? And like I said, I wanted to put it out there as well. I see Martin has a comment on YouTube I'll get to as well.
So are you talking about from like a depth standpoint other than Evan Ingram?
No, not talking about the depth standpoint, just the fact of them being able to be recovery, participating in training camp, being ready day one, how much can they actually contribute as they kind of come back?
Yeah, I mean, I think Dre Greenlaw, I mean, it's obviously already concerned that he's already kind of hurt. I think it's already concerned, but I think for the most part, I mean, these guys, I know they have injury history, but it's hard to tell to kind of predict how many games these guys are going to be able to play and when they're going to go down with an injury. I think it's great as Broncos training staff is. You're just hoping and praying that this training staff can keep these guys on the field as much as possible. But we got to also understand that it's a long season and these guys get banged up over time. And that's part of some of the guys you signed this offseason, some of your bigger signings were for guys that did have an injury history. So I think that it's a hard thing to predict, Keith, as far as from a recovery standpoint, how they're going to recover, because you also got to think about mile high. How are they going to recover at, a mile high above sea level? I think that we have to factor that in as well. So the timetable to predict that kind of stuff's a little tough, but I do think if you're the Broncos, you're not making these big signings to some of these players you brought in without having confidence, a pretty good understanding and confidence that you can keep these guys healthy for most of the season. Yeah,
that's fair, man. It's tough to speculate. I'll just say this: if I had to have a biggest concern, it's not with the guys that Dre Greenlaw played a little bit at the end of San Francisco's season. A little bit of a snap count, got some snaps out there, looked pretty good. My biggest concern, honestly, is probably the Riley Moss, because when I saw him go back out there, I don't feel like I saw the same Riley Moss that I saw pre-injury. I don't ever feel like he got back to that same place, and maybe he was just picked on a little bit more, and maybe they thought, we have to, because that's maybe a concern. And so he saw a little bit more. I'd have to go back and look at the stats, but it just seemed like Riley Moss wasn't quite the same as he was pre-injury. So I want to see Riley Moss come back to that level. Now he's had a whole offseason, and I think he might have been pushed a little bit to hit the field. Obviously, we wanted to make the playoffs, and we wanted to see how far we could go, So maybe he got rushed a little bit back, and this offseason is all he needed. But if there was any concern, it was just because of maybe the tape I already saw, Trevor, and it just didn't feel or look the same. But boy, as much time as he's had off, rehab, getting in shape, he could come back out and just be right, step in right where he left off.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. And you're hoping a lot of these guys, Keith, real quickly, are like Brandon Jones. Brandon Jones didn't play a full season last year, but he played a majority of the season. And the productivity that he brought to the field was fantastic. That's what you're hoping that you're getting from these Dre Greenlaw, Hufanga, Evan Ingram, is that these guys can contribute in a big way while trying to stay on the field as much as possible. 17 games is really hard to keep these guys on the field for, or I should say a full season is just really hard to kind of keep these guys on the field for. But I think if you can get 3/4 of the way through the season for most of these guys, I think the Broncos are probably sitting in a pretty good spot right now. Now, the risk it would be these guys start getting hurt earlier in the season, and now you're kind of having to play catch up because you don't have a lot of depth. Let's just say at tight end, you don't really have a lot of depth at tight end. So, and some of those other positions. So, I think that's just kind of the name of the game. And if you're the Broncos, you take that risk because of how close this roster is to competing at a high level.
Yeah, I agree, man. I agree. One thing that feels different is tight end maybe aside, we have quality depth that we're starting to put together on this team, where you can endure a little bit of that, right? Everyone was shocked with our first round pick. And, let's face it, if pressed into position, I have a little bit of confidence that Jade Barron could maybe step up to the table and take on a larger role than what he was expected to take on as it sits today. Martin comes in here, wanted to wait and get to this comment because I think he's almost, if this didn't say Martin and it said Trevor, I could feel like it's channeling the exact same vibe that you would both have. He says, my biggest concern isn't on the field, it's in the stands. We as fans need to temper our expectations. We could get better as a team and still struggle in our division, not to mention in the AFC. There's a little bit to be said about this hype train that is, building for the Denver Broncos, especially within, Broncos country itself. We saw a lot of great things last year, and Bo Nix, I think, outperformed many people's expectations, and because of that, this entire team, I think, outplayed a lot of people's expectations.
Mm-hmm.
Is Martin channeling like kind of an inner Trevor here? Do we need to maybe temper our expectations, Trevor?
I mean, I'm never gonna tell fans how to root. That's just not gonna be my thing. You root how you prefer. I think for Martin's being realistic, and that's absolutely amazing. And I mean, there's different kinds of fans out there. You can be a hardcore fan, and whatnot, and always be positive. And that's an awesome thing. That's what I'm saying. There's fans out there, but there's multiple fans. Either way, I respect any way any fan chooses to have their fandom be out there. So, we can have discussions and whatnot, but at the end of the day, there's mutual respect across the board. Martin right there, I think Martin made a lot of great points there, and a couple points that I made. So, I mean, you just kind of see how it plays on the field. I mean, right now it's all speculation. We won't know until these guys, tie up their cleats and get out there on the field and go compete.
All right. Well, I'm going to take Pearl's comment and I'm going to flip it to another concern that actually maybe just hit me. And then we'll talk about Pearl and her amazing Morgan trinkets, not just about her amazing corgis. But that being said, she says, my concern is do not get too cocky and one game at a time. I'm going to flip this a little bit, man. Sean Payton says it's been a couple years now under the Sean Payton regime, and we need to get out to a fast start. We need to get out to a fast start. Martin was just talking about it in what he was saying. Ernie, if we're going to go out and hit 13-4-0, we're going to have to get out to a fast start. My worry, my concern is we haven't seen that. We haven't seen the Broncos been able to get out to a fast start in quite some time. And the worry and the concern isn't just in the fact that they haven't done it, because you can always change. But if they don't, as Martin pointed out, we might have to temper our expectations of what we can do in the AFC or versus the AFC, because let's face it, that's where all the dominant teams seem to be living these days, outside of maybe the Super Bowl champions.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts on that, man? Should there be concern that this Denver Broncos team starts out hot or does not start out hot into this season? Because we haven't seen it yet from Sean Payton, Trevor.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you should be concerned, but I think there's concern about every team at this point in time, because you really don't know what you're going to get with any team. I mean, yeah, you could say what they did last year. That was last year. This is a new season. I mean, anything can happen, and so I would say yes. I mean, you can definitely be, don't get too cocky. Now, if I'm a player and I'm in the Broncos locker room, that's out the window. I'm going to go out there with confidence, and I'm going to say, hey, we're the best team out there on the field, and we're going to play for each other, and we're going to go win a Super Bowl this year. If from a media standpoint, I mean, again, you are kind of tempered expectations. From a fan standpoint, I think depending on what kind of fan you are, I think that there's a lot of positives to be made. I think there's some negatives to be made, and that's just kind of that balance. And it's just some of that kind of uncertainty that you're dealing with right now. Because we're in June right now. When start of preseason and getting into the regular season comes about, this roster kind of starts to come together a little bit more, and we find out who officially makes the 53-man roster. I think we can talk about a little bit more and get a better idea of what to expect from this team, and weigh the positives and negatives a little bit better.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, it's way too early, but man, I'm let's face it. There's got to be concern that if we don't come out a little bit hot, it's going to be easy to fall behind.
Mm-hmm.
The Chargers are not getting any worse with Harbaugh at the helm. The Raiders are not getting any worse with Pete Carroll and everything that they're starting to put together down there. Brock Bowers and the amazing season he had. They're starting to put pieces and parts together. Let's not forget, everyone was like very excited if Ashton Genty wore a Denver Broncos uniform. Now he's wearing a Las Vegas Raiders uniform instead. There's the Kansas City Chiefs are going to be the Kansas City Chiefs until someone says they're not.
Mm-hmm.
I don't care if it's the Broncos. I don't care if it's the Chargers. I don't care if it's the Buffalo Bills. I don't care if it's the Ravens. Until someone says the Chiefs aren't the Chiefs and make that known for a couple years in a row, the Chiefs are still going to be the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. This Broncos team, there's concern that we need to start out hot, and we can't be the team that starts off slow. It's not an easy strength of schedule. It's not easy the way the bye week's set up. It's not easy with the travel that we have going on. It's, the only thing I can say about that bye week is if things go right and we're going long into the season, into the playoffs, so at least we got to break more midway through because we're playing for the AFC Championship. But that's about it, man. That's like maybe the highlight of that entire schedule as far as ease of schedule.
Mm-hmm.
I want us to start off hot. I need us to start off hot, and it would be a concern if we didn't start off hot. Like I said, it kind of just hit me because that wasn't one of my biggest concerns, but I think that it bears kind of mentioning. And like you said, it'll bear mentioning as we get a little bit closer and we see a game or two play out and we see which way they start to slide. And we're doing these post-game shows when we go 3 shows a week, man. That's when it's going to get a little bit more interesting, Trevor. But always interesting is our amazing sponsor, and I got to talk about them. That's Morgan Trinkets. They're your headquarters for Southwest Jewelry, Southwest Pottery, Estate Gold at wholesale prices. And they've been doing it for over 34 years. Once a nationwide company, now they're just hanging out in your backyard. Northern Colorado, Southern Wyoming. They do amazing shows, whether it be at the fairgrounds, whether it be a gem show. Maybe they're at one of those dog shows that, Pearl's double dipping in, with Sassy taking in blue ribbons and first place ribbons, and at the same time showing off everything she has to offer with Morgan Trinkets. But if you can't get out to one of those shows, you're not in that particular area, don't worry. Head on over to Etsy, type in Morgan Trinkets Co. And that's Morgan Trinkets Co. Morgan's Trinkets Co. And right there, you'll find everything that Pearl has to offer over at Morgan Trinkets. That's Southwest Jewelry, Pottery, Estate Gold at wholesale prices, and silver. Sterling silver, 100% sterling silver as well. All orders over $50 are shipped absolutely free, and all major credit cards are accepted as well. So head on over to Morgan Trinkets, Morgan Trinkets Co. over at Etsy, and check them out. Hey, says Clayton. Smash that like and share, guys. And he says, great way to top off a long weekend. And thank you, guys. Well, Clayton, thank you. We appreciate it, man. Typically I should think about more happier topics heading into the weekend because we're talking about concerns and just kind of walking through what some of the concerns are for Broncos country, even with the high expectations that we have and all the reasons to have them, Trevor.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's excitement in Broncos country. I don't want to put a damper on that, man.
No.
That being said, I'd like to get your thoughts on maybe a concern that you may have for this team.
I'm going to go right here because this segues great into one of my biggest concerns, and I've talked about it all offseason. Adam Doss here, biggest health concern for me, and this is health concern, but this is just a concern for me in general, defensive line. But he says biggest health concern for me is in the trenches, really. I don't even like typing in, doing the what ifs, Zach Allen, Garrett Bowles, Mike McGlinchey, etc. Adam, appreciate you tuning in. This is exactly what I've been talking about. It's not just from a health concern, but defensive line for me. I mean, just the Broncos didn't do anything to address the defensive line. This is a defensive line that when you went up against a really good offense like Buffalo Bills with James Cook, or in Indianapolis against Jonathan Taylor, they put up 100-plus yards or dang near close to it. They ran all over the defense, and it's as much as I praise Vance Joseph and that defense, that Denver defense, and how great of a job he's done. That run defense is still concerned for me. I like Malcolm Roach. I like DJ Jones. Not sure I love him by the price they brought him back at, but my point is I would like them to reinvest a little heavier in that defensive line because of that. And you have the Chargers who just drafted Marion Hampton. You have the Raiders that just drafted Ashton Genty. Oh, and the Chargers, by the way, they went out there and signed Najee Harrison for agency. The Kansas City Chiefs, Isaiah Pacheco, full season healthy. He's dang near close to 1,000 yards when he's healthy and on the field. I mean, he's capable of being a 1,000-yard rusher. So you have that in your division itself. AFC West, you're playing 2 games each team in the AFC West. You have to be able to stop the football, and that's one of my biggest concerns, Keith. It's top of the list on the defensive side of the ball, is this team was not able to address that defensive line enough. Nose tackle. You don't have the size. For me, the size needs to be there. There needs to be more size on this defensive line. And for me, it's a concern that I've carried all offseason. You can go back to when the season ended, and we went to the offseason wish list. That was high priority for me. I know probably some people in the posse, but I don't know, Keith, am I wrong? I mean, defensive line being a concern for the Denver Broncos?
You're not wrong. You're 100% not wrong, because on my list, and it kind of goes along this line, was a top defense. I mean, like top 5 defense for like 3/4 of the defense, or 3/4 of the season, and could have been maintained there, but kind of fell off, but still fell off to the point that there was still a top 10 defense. My concern is, and I think you put a lot of great points to why there should be the concern, whether it be the Chiefs, whether it be the Chargers, whether it be the Raiders, and where the weakness possibly could be for this defense. They've stacked up on running backs. I truly believe the best teams look within their division and they try to game plan to win the division. If you are game planning to win against the Denver Broncos, you get Ashton Genty. You go out and add Najee Harris, in free agency, out there for the Chargers. I mean, you just Isaiah Pacheco, you get him healthy, and like you said, all the points that you're putting together. One of my concerns is whether this team can maintain, from a defensive standpoint, what they were able to do last year. Top 5 was looking freaking amazing. Top 5, if they would have continued that run and pushed, they could have maintained at a top 5. But let's face it, all throughout the season, there was always concern about what the run game was able to do against this Denver Broncos defense. It didn't matter what opponent it seemed that they were end up going up against. Heck, even Cleveland had some relative good success against us on the ground, let alone some of these other teams. It's got to be one of my top concerns, is whether this defense can repeat what they did through 3/4 of the season last year, as well as maybe get better in some areas, like you said, right up through the middle. It's going to be more reliant, I believe, on the linebackers that we brought in, because I don't think we have guys up front that are still in the growth phase, let's put it. If I look at Malcolm Roach, I don't think he's still growing as a player to become something maybe completely different or significantly different than what he is today or was last year. Or DJ Jones isn't going to be a significantly different player than what he was last year. He's not in that developmental phase, right? There's John Franklin Meyer even. I don't think there's a whole lot of development left there. So you have what you have, I guess is what I'm saying. And so you got to look at maybe the pieces that you brought in. So I'll agree with you in that respect. And that's where my concern comes in.
Absolutely, and you don't have that upside piece. Like I think that's what you're trying to loot here. Is there's no upside on that defensive line. I mean, look how the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and how they got a hold of Patrick Mahomes. They just gave you the recipe to beat Patrick Mahomes and that Kansas City Chiefs offense. You would think you'd want to try to replicate that. Maybe the Broncos were. We don't know behind the scenes what tried to happen. We only know what this team did when they actually selected the players they selected in the draft, or some of the players they actually officially signed in free agency. We don't know about the players that they missed out on both in the draft and free agency.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I just got to point out, I didn't realize how famous our posse was in some regards. Captain's hanging out with Steve Antonopoulos, if you don't remember that name, significant to Broncos country. But he was out there, finishing in his house, doing some taping and some texturing. And then after that was brought about, then Karen's telling me that she's hanging out designing Von Miller's shower. I mean, you guys are blowing me away with the comments that you're coming through, and I'm trying to find thank you. I also did design work on Von Miller's master bathroom shower. You guys are blowing me away. You didn't tell me you guys were like celebrity status in your own professions. You don't get just to walk in, and then I saw that I believe Captain got someone got to meet Patrick Bolin as well, and his wife. So, I mean, just you guys are, like I said, just blowing me away. I had Captain got to meet Pat B and his wife. That was 87. And Pearl was asking, did you ever meet Patrick Bolin, Captain? He says yes, and his wife. I mean, living among the elite here, man. Me and Trevor are. That's how I feel tonight, man. Those are some big, huge names, and that's pretty amazing that you as Broncos country were hanging out among some of the best Broncos country ever produced and put together and put out there for us. So
it's a small world.
Hats off to you. Small world, yeah. Small world. Like when my good friend Patrick Wiltsey comes in, I got to just shout it out. Aloha, boys. I just got my most recent shipment of the most amazing coffee on the planet. Comes straight out of Hawaii. If you place an order, could very well that Patrick Wiltsey is putting together your shipment and putting the label on it and getting you sent out the door to you. Lion Coffee, lioncoffee.com. I haven't even cracked the box yet. Can't even wait to do so. Maybe it'll be a little, like almost like a present tomorrow morning, like Christmas. A little bit of Lion Coffee present tomorrow morning. It's always a gift. And it's always a gift when Patrick comes in here and sharing his thoughts, his ideas. And Phil has been absolutely cranking out some stars as of lately, and it looks like he might have sent some more. Do you have the comment that it's all tagged to, Trevor? And
yes,
if so,
yep.
Read it away, man. Feel free.
Phil and Patrick sent stars as well. So I want to shout out our posse members for sending stars. You guys are absolutely amazing. This is why we do this. Phil with another great question. He said, another concern, how fast can our rookies adjust to the NFL? Absolutely, Phil. I mean, that's first and foremost, that's absolutely concerned, because we all know rookies, it takes a little bit for these rookies and for these guys to kind of get implemented into the NFL. I mean, college game and to the NFL and and being a pro, you have to kind of learn a little bit. Even go back to Bo Nix. Bo Nix, high football IQ, right? Father played football, but it took him a little bit to kind of get acclimated to the NFL. I'm going to bet it probably took him a little bit off the field to get implemented to the NFL too. His first full off season as a pro, I'm sure it was a little bit different from an off season a year ago when he was, at the combine and, doing these team workouts and whatnot. So I just think it does take time, Phil. It is a worry, but I think if you're a coaching staff and you're just the Broncos in general and just any team around the NFL, you already kind of know it's going to be a learning process to kind of get these guys implemented. That's why you have rookie mini camp and you have training camp to kind of get these guys up to speed as much as possible.
And I would agree, man. Just to double back on that, or double up on that, I should say. Yeah. Chat's popping tonight, says Dreamweaver. Appreciate it, man. It is popping tonight. I think it sometimes depends upon the position too. Mm-hmm. Running back, RJ Harvey, even though he's the second round, not the first round pick, let's say, has a significant advantage to come in there, be productive day one. That running game is so much easier to try to take from the college level to the pro level, let's say outside of pass blocking, which RJ Harvey is going to have to get accustomed to NFL pass blocking. That being said, everything else, when it comes to the run game, he should be hitting the ground running. Guys like Jahdae Barron, guys like Pat Bryant, who are going to have to, learn a playbook, learn technique, understand how to work off your fellow players in your position, right? Because sometimes it's, hey, you got to play off of what I do, especially on the defensive side. You got to know if I'm here, you got to be about here. And about here is within about a foot of where I'm saying. Mm-hmm. It is very, very tough and can be a long process. It's why we waited to see Riley Moss finally hit the field. So, yeah, it is a concern, Phil. How quickly can these guys go from college football playbook to NFL football playbook and still have all the intensity, the tenacity, just the instincts and the speed that they showed in college, not be second guessing in their head about where I should be within a foot, be instinctually there. Take some time. And there are concerns. We had Hot Take Thursday. My hot take was that Pat Bryant would be pressing, taking over the number 2 wide receiver position in training camp. Mm-hmm. Now, in training camp is one thing. Where Sean Payton pushes him out come week 1 might be something different. We've all seen guys look great in training camp, but when it comes week 1, it's a different guy out there starting. And it's usually because they don't quite have it all put together. It's easy to maybe not see that from a non-coach's perspective in training camp. I got to just say really quick, and then I'll turn it over to you. We can hit whatever you want. All these comments, you've been probably watching them better than me, but Kenny's coming in here. One of the horsemen. Good evening, fellas. What a better way to spend a human night at work than with my 2 podcast brothers and horsemen, Keith and Trevor. And hopefully even on the non-human nights, it's a great way to spend a Friday night. But sorry it's so humid where you're at, and we miss Kenny, and can't wait to have you back for another show. Of course, Kenny usually doesn't make the Friday shows. We'll see him again on Tuesday. We go live every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:30. Can't believe how much time's went by, and you probably can't imagine either because you missed the first 15 minutes, Trevor, because I didn't let you in. Trevor, where do you want to go? Let's hit a few more ideas and thoughts before we get out of here.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quickly, Keith, I also thought you were going to go solo for the first 15 minutes. Maybe that's a new segment we're going to do. No, I'm just kidding. I have to give Keith crap. But no, I mean, for me, just kind of building upon, and then we have a couple questions from the posse members. I want to open it up to the posse members as well to kind of end the night out, end the show out. But Troy Franklin, I mean, he just spoke to it, I believe, a couple days ago when he talked to the media. He talked about just the jump from year one to year two. He said it's night and day. And Sean Payton has spoke about it immensely. It's repetition. It goes a long way, honestly. And then for these players, what it's going to be too. I mean, you can't expect all these rookies to be you're lucky if you get maybe 2-3 rookies that contribute their first season. You've got to give these guys time. That's why I've, kind of went to bat a little bit for Troy Franklin. I'm like, no, give him a little bit of time. And he's spoken about it himself. I mean, I don't think it's an excuse. I think he's absolutely speaking facts because of the jump from college to the NFL. That it's night and day. I mean, I can absolutely believe him. And so it's one of those things. You got to be patient with some of these guys. Let it play out. You can't judge a book by its cover. You got to let it you got to read through that book a little bit until you get to the end and kind of see what kind of player you have. So I think that's just something to take away, from what these players say. It is, it's tough to adjust to the NFL year one. But JC Weaver comes in here. I'm going to get to his comment. He said, because this is a concern for me too. But he says, I'm concerned that Sean Payton won't fully commit and stick to developing a run game. Some games he can't help himself going back to shotgun tempo style. Keith?
Every right to have this concern, right?
Yeah.
Every right to have the concern, even when last year the running game was doing probably its best, is when we turned away from it its most. I mean, outside of maybe New Orleans, when was it Cincinnati that we were doing so dang well, and all of a sudden he just decided to shut off the faucet? I know it was the
Chargers.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. I knew it was an AFC team. I knew you'd be better with the memory. That's why I just kind of threw it out there in the ether and like, hey, please help me. You're right. It was the Chargers. He just decided to shut off the faucet. I mean, just killing them, had every right to keep pounding and just put away a game that way. Sometimes there's nothing better than when you just dominate in one phase of the game consistently and just walk away with the win. And Sean Payton had that on the line, and he decided, no, I got to do something different for whatever intent and purpose he had in his mind. And it's not the first time. And I think, this maybe, I'm not going to say I think, I hope RJ Harvey is the difference for him. It's the piece that he feels like, I am going to get behind this piece, and this is going to be a big key. It's like the joker he's been looking for at the tight end position, right? Once he finds the joker, this it's going to be the key that unlocks all this potential, and it feels like Sean Payton was never really bought in to the running backs maybe and the potential that they had. But now he went out and got RJ Harvey. He took him in the second round. He passed over other guys. This is kind of the Bo Nix of this last draft, saying, this is my guy. Everyone else says not here. I'm saying, yep, this is the one. So that's my only hope. But you have every right to be concerned, JC.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and that's another thing too. I mean, this is Sean Payton's third season. I mean, I think we have to kind of accept it as well, though. We're not going to see, I don't think, a 1,200 yard rusher on this team. Just how Sean Payton likes to use his running backs, multiple of them. Plus, he likes to throw the ball. He likes to use that screen game to kind of help take away from the run game a little bit more. So I think with RJ Harvey, Keith, I think I hope you're right. I hope he does stick to the run game a little bit more. Like, hey, he's maybe a little bit more in love with this running back room than he was a year ago. But the thing is, he's going to use RJ Harvey to his strengths, and one of RJ Harvey's strengths is to catch the ball in the backfield and make a big play happen. And so I think that screen game is something to watch out for with RJ Harvey and some of these other running backs. But we'll see what ends up happening. I kind of have a feeling that we may be talking about Sean Payton lack of running the football again this season, just because he loves to pass the football and throw the football around. But again, it doesn't really matter if your offense can't move the football. For me, you got to find multiple ways to try to move the football. And if your run game's working, try to stick to it as best you can. Because going away from your offensive line strength, I don't think it's a very good idea.
Yeah, maybe the biggest concern in all of this. Yeah, we got RJ Harvey, and I want to get excited and hope that that's the running back that makes the Sean Payton eyes light up and get all excited and want to stick around the running game. But we just got Evan Ingram. You just got done talking about Troy Franklin's big jump in year 2 that has been evident and obvious. Cortland Sutton is still our number 1 receiver. Marvin Mims, by all intents and purposes, isn't going away. I'm out there saying that Pat Bryant's going to take the number 2 wide receiver spot, by storm in training camp. I don't know if Sean Payton will have a run play called with all the excitement that we could also have around this passing game at the same time. I guess what I'm getting at is it's going to be really tough to be a balanced team, with everything that we possibly could have, at the fingertips of a play caller. Mm-hmm. I know I played, maybe it's too much Madden that I played, but yeah, my pass calling was probably a little higher than my run calling when I played Madden, and I think that's how I'd end up coaching a team like this maybe as well. Trevor, we do have a few minutes, man, and you missed out. Let's get some long goodbyes in. I see that we're getting a few more comments. If we want to hit that before we get out of here, we can do that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we want to hit Kenny's question?
Yeah, we can hit Kenny's question. I want to get Adam as well in there. I see that he's dropping a big, long comment.
Well, a little overtime won't hurt us.
Why not?
Here's Kenny's question here. He said, would I sound like a hypocrite if I said I had a concern on this team? It's Sean Payton. I think that, yeah, okay. Yeah. Kenny's spelling sometimes. My reason is if Broncos got off to a slow start, everyone is going to blame every player and coach, and Payton gets the pass.
Yeah, it seems like he has been getting a little bit of the pass, hasn't he? I think that's part of what you've been alluding to, even as of lately too, is we're coming up on year 3, and we really want to see a Sean Payton offense. Mm-hmm. Well, we're also coming up on year 3, and if things don't start going right, Kenny's concern is, are we blaming Bo Nix? Are we blaming Cortland Sutton? Are we blaming Troy Franklin, which seems to be an easy scapegoat, at least as of last year, or the guy who always drops the ball or whatever have it be? Is this the reason, or do we start pointing the finger towards a coach that will be 3 years in as a Super Bowl winning head coach that has tons of experience, tons of tenure, tons of bravado, and tons of expectations that come with all that? Yeah, at some point, you put all those pieces together, and things needs to start aligning. Let's just put it that way, for Sean Payton to be producing maybe at the higher level.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I think there's definitely pressure on him year 3, Keith, if this offense gets off to a slow start. If this defense is the reason this team is competitive or winning games, I think the seat for Sean Payton gets a little hotter. Now, I am not on the train of firing Sean Payton right now. I'm not going to say that right now. I want to see this thing through with Sean Payton. You give up what you gave up for him. Let this thing kind of run its course a little bit. He just got you back to the playoffs for the first time since 2015. I think you have to kind of give him the benefit of the doubt with that. But the thing is, with me, yes, I agree with Kenny. I don't think he should get the pass. I do think the concern is Sean Payton in this offense. There's no more excuses. I mean, you got another offseason to go get your guys, to go draft your guys. and maybe you'd miss out on a couple players that you thought you could have gotten. But the thing is, the excuses are starting to run out. That's my point. You have this offense. You got to start seeing progress. Like, for instance, in the run game, maybe instead of 1,000-yard rusher, maybe you have a 850, 900-yard rusher this year, but he's got 7 touchdowns. I would take that. That's productivity, because this team last year wasn't very good at running the football. And it was a big concern last season, and it's one of those question marks that needs to be answered this season.
Yeah. Yeah. Man, I'm telling you, I think I could go all night with the posse, the way they're rocking. I was just even scrolling through. I realized that we missed Big E Bronco that came in. So Big E, welcome in. And as we're about ready to say goodbye, I just wanted to recognize you. Appreciate you a ton. Michael Ronquillo coming in late, saying good evening, Keith and Trevor and Gobo Broncos, giving us the blue and orange hearts, giving us that mile high salute, and showing some love, as he says, after dealing with the internet issues. But he says, hey, I'm here now. We are wrapping up, Michael, but I want to tell you, I appreciate you. Your 100 stars that you're coming in with. And not only that, probably first and foremost, just your absolute, support of this show. Michael, love you. Appreciate you. Thank you so very much. Phil's coming in as well. He has 100 stars. He says, speaking the running game, I really hope that Peyton uses Bo's legs once in a while. Also, a little off topic, will Estime wind up on the practice squad? I'll take the first part. You take the second half, or the second part, first half, second half, first part, second part. I am 100, because I'm 100% on board with Phil right here. I think the ability for any offense to use your quarterback in a defense that's it's not very often you're running man with no blitz, or just man coverage in general, and you have someone covering that quarterback that's kind of spying. Let's put it that way. I think if you have the quarterback that has the legs, and Bo Nix showed that he has the legs, and he's responsible, and he knows how to slide, and he knows how to get out of bounds. He doesn't do stupid things when he's out there, scrambling out and about. You have an absolute advantage. If you don't utilize that, shame on you. That is, I think, the number one advantage that you could possibly have is a quarterback with legs. Bo Nix is showing it, and I'm 100% on board, Phil. You got to draw it up, and you could have some huge plays. Let's all remember when Peyton Manning fooled everybody on a goal line bootleg to the corner for a touchdown.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to have the legs, but Bo does. I'm on board. Does Audric Estime end up on a practice squad? That's the second half. What do you think for Phil?
Yeah, Phil, once again, thank you for the stars, and thank you for the posse blowing up our chat. It's absolutely awesome. I love Keith us too. We all love overtime. So you guys keep popping. This is awesome. We love to see it. That our hard work is starting to pay off. You guys really mean a lot to us. As far as Estime, will he make the practice squad? I just, a lot of determines for me. I think Estime is on that bubble. Yes, I think with J.K. Dobbins signing, I think J.K. Dobbins is more like the Javonte Williams of this offense, but from last year. But with Estime, I think he's got to show something. I mean, he's got to be able to. The fumbles can't be a thing for him in the preseason. I think this is going to be a very, very, very important preseason and training camp for Audric Estime, Phil. That being said, you'd have to, I think, Jaleel McLaughlin, I think, is making this roster. Audric Estime, doesn't play special teams. He's not a gadget. Jaleel McLaughlin's a gadget kind of player. So there's a role for Jaleel McLaughlin. What's the role for Audric Estime if he can't play and be your running back in your running back rotation? There's not really much he can do other than that. And that's nothing on Audric Estime. I hope he does end up making the team. I hope he does, figure it out. As of right now, I think he is on the active roster. Keith, does he make it to the practice squad? I think there's a chance because of how many different running backs could possibly be available once we get through training camp and roster cuts and whatnot. I think there's a chance. I would say there's a 50-50 chance he can make that practice squad, though, just in general, because you never know what team had Audric Estime may be high on their board as well.
Yeah, that's where it all comes in, right? It's like Sean Payton said, no, don't start counting. Don't start. I mean, you can count if you want to, but we're not going to. Don't start counting because you don't know how this roster is going to shake out. Don't say that we're only going to have 3 running backs on the active roster, or we're going to carry 2 quarterbacks or 3 quarterbacks. Don't start counting. We're going to go out there and we're going to see these guys play. We're going to see these guys out on the field. And that's going to determine how you're going to set your roster, which, other than, some minimums that you need to have, Trevor, makes perfectly good sense that the best guys go out there, because Sean Payton said, my biggest concern, and I tell my coaches all the time, I don't want to have a guy leave the Denver Broncos and then go someplace else and be successful and us to look back and say, where did we go wrong? Why didn't we hold on to that? So, I think there's every opportunity for Audric Estime to, take out a J.K. Dobbins. We just talked about what's his guaranteed contract. Not much, like $2.7 million is what I think is guaranteed. That's, if you have to walk away from $2.7 million, Trevor, you can walk away from $2.7 million.
Yeah.
If Audric Estime goes out and it's like, no, that's our guy instead of, because that's probably the closest competition I can see. You're not getting rid of RJ Harvey. He's not going to the practice squad. He'd never make it through. You know what I mean? So you got to have some relative sanity about how you're going about this. J.K. Dobbins, Audric Estime, that'll be kind of the battle for me. Michael Ronquillo just going to help round us out a little bit. He says, congratulations to former Broncos defensive coordinator Wade Phillips for making the all-century team. Quite a defense, man, that Wade Phillips was able to put together. And, son of Bum Phillips, son of Bum, as he was known for the longest time, absolute just architect of defenses, and did very well with the Denver Broncos and had a career outside of the Denver Broncos as well, man. So hats off to Wade Phillips. I don't know if you want to add anything there.
Yeah, hats off to Wade Phillips and to Champ Bailey as well, because Michael had that in our comments as well. Hats off to both those. I mean, the Broncos don't win Super Bowl 50 without Wade Phillips and that defense. Not just John Elway bringing in the players he did, DeMarcus Ware, Keith Talib, TJ Ward, but also Wade Phillips just executing and really playing to those players' strengths, I think, is absolutely huge. So congratulations. And we all know how special of a player Champ Bailey was, a Hall of Famer, first class, both on and off the field. Huge congratulations to those guys. Those guys absolutely deserve it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I loved Champ Bailey days, man. In retrospect, even if I was sad about the trade, that sent what I thought was one of the best running backs the Broncos finally had found after looking and looking, in one Clinton Portis, and they ship him out the door, and I was so upset. Man, I miss those Champ Bailey days, though, man. Absolutely deserving. All-century team, Champ Bailey, Wade Phillips, and man, no concerns when they were out there playing defense or lining up the defense for us, man. But this has been our concerned episode, man. I think there's a lot more that we could get into. I certainly had a lot more written down. We went a little bit of overtime. There was calls that we needed to go 15 minutes worth of overtime since I cut you out of 15 minutes. I'll just remind everyone that Trevor's usually 5 minutes late. So
what that? Huh?
Couldn't let that slide after you said you were giving me a little bit of crap earlier. Trevor, let's get a wrap on this Friday night episode. Let's let our posse have a fantastic weekend. And thanks for hanging out with me, man. Just before you say goodbye and before we get out of here.
Yeah, absolutely, Keith. Thank you, and thank you, the posse. I mean, I know I was in here later, but that's fine. I mean, regardless, I'll join in last 10 minutes of the show if I have to. If Keith decides to go solo on a Friday night, just kidding, Keith. But everybody in the posse, you guys are fantastic, blowing up the chat. I mean, we were only able to get to like 2 concerns, I think, for each of us, both on offense and defense side of the ball. I'm sure there'll be more concerns down the line, and we may even expand on this down the line as well. But just you guys' questions, comments, star givers, everybody was fantastic tonight. Truly love and seeing new names. Adam Doss being involved in the chat and just being involved in the discussion. I mean, we respect our posse members and we love our posse members, and we love when posse members can have discussions, no matter how you fandom and where your fandom lies. You're able to be respectful, and we're able to have discussion in our chat, and we absolutely love it. So, to our amazing posse. You guys are absolutely amazing tonight, and just big thank you from all of us at Denver Bronco Roundup, because you guys, this show that wouldn't be possible without you guys. So hope everybody has a great weekend. Enjoy yourselves. Stay cool, because it's like 100 degrees still here, and it's 9:00 at night. So hope everybody has a great weekend, and we'll see you next time. Go Broncos.
We didn't talk about the weather. It was like rainy. It's like 50 degrees outside right now. So, we're on opposite ends of the spectrum, my friend. Karen just coming in and saying, thanks, guys. We appreciate it. He's saying, I love the Broncos and sports podcast on YouTube. You kind of spoke on it or touched on it just a little bit, Trevor. What I love about our posse is coming in here and honestly, I think the way we really look at it, man, is yes, we appreciate every star giver. It really does help the gears turn over here at DBR and Rocky Mountain Sports Network. But what I love is that we're going to try to have a discussion with anybody that brings a relevant comment to the panel, because I think that you all have great ideas. You all have great thoughts. I'm not going to tie it to your pockets for you to have a great discussion with us. But like I said, we sure do appreciate whenever you can do so. It helps the gears turn over here. So thank you, Posse, for having an amazing discussion this evening. Thanks for all the new names. Thanks for teaching me a little bit about y'all and what you're end up doing out there and in your lives away from this podcast. We love to get to know you as much as possible, because it's always good to know the posse that you're riding with, and what makes them tick. We go live every Tuesday, every Friday, 7:30 p.m. Love to have you along for the ride. Love to have you out there on Facebook or YouTube. That's where we go live. But don't worry if you can't catch us live. We're out there on Apple Podcasts. We're out there on Spotify as well. Catch us on the go and catch up with us whenever you possibly can. When season rolls around, we go 3 episodes because we'd like to do a post-game show as well. Check us out, whether it be on Facebook, whether it be on YouTube, whether you're checking out RockyMountainSN.com, where we drop articles from time to time about your Denver Broncos. We appreciate it so very much. Check out Trevor over on X, or yours truly as well. Love to have the discussion over there. We'll continue to do so, but we do got to get out of here. I hope you all have a fantastic weekend. Stay cool if you're in a hot area. Stay hot if you're in a cool area. Stay dry if you're in a wet area like me. But we get out of here, Trevor, one way and one way only. You know it, buddy. We're going to go ahead and we're going to keep those boots in the stirrups. We're going to go ahead and keep our guns in the holsters. But most importantly, please keep the Denver Broncos in your heart. Can't wait to see you again. Have a great weekend, everybody. We're out of here.